All right, it looks like we're going live.
We are live, Reed.
Amazing.
We are now live on Facebook for Transit Tuesday on this February 9th.
Perfect. Well, welcome, guys. Thank you for joining us for Transit Tuesday today. Today is an exciting Transit Tuesday. We are going to be sharing some information about our hydrogen program. Our hydrogen fuel cell program is something we are very excited about here at SunLine Transit, and we'll get started in a moment, but we just want to make sure people are able to get on, and thank you for joining.
For those of you just joining us, this is Transit Tuesday, our future with hydrogen. Hola para ustedes que están con nosotros hoy. Este es Tránsito Martes o Transit Tuesday y ahora vamos a hablar de hidrógeno. Y vamos a empezar en un momento. All right, there we go. Read Transit Tuesday, our future with hydrogen.
Perfect. Okay. All right, good afternoon and welcome to our Transit Tuesday presentation of Our Future with Hydrogen. My name is Reed Alvarado, Communications Coordinator at SunLine Transit, and joining me today is Nicholas Robles, my colleague and our marketing and events manager. Thank you, Nicholas, who will be sharing this presentation in Spanish.
Hola, para ustedes que están con nosotros hoy, yo soy Nicolás y ahora para este Tránsito Martes vamos a hablar de nuestro futuro aquí en SunLine con hidrógeno. So aquí en un momento vamos a empezar. Hay una gente que está con nosotras. Hola para la gente que está con nosotros. All right, Reed. I say we kick it off.
Sounds great. People are probably just getting back from lunch. And if you tune in halfway through, you can always come back and watch some of the beginning later on. So to get us started, let's talk about why hydrogen fuel cell buses. Now, you may be more familiar with battery electric buses, as those have been very popular in the news over the last few years, but hydrogen is also a very important component of a clean air transit future. Producing zero emission fuel cell buses are attractive options for urban areas, operating quietly and reducing maintenance costs. Fuel cell buses also demonstrate advantages operating in extreme temperatures, something that is all too familiar for anyone who lives in the Coachella Valley, especially over battery-powered alternatives. Pictured here on the right is a winner of our student art contest who drew a hydrogen fuel cell bus on one of our hydrogen fuel cell buses.
Y antes de empezar, ¿por qué autobuses de combustible de hidrógeno? Muchos los que están viendo este video o este Facebook en vivo conocen los autobuses de batería eléctrica porque en las noticias hay mucho que hablan de los carros eléctricos de batería porque ya tiene Toyota, Tesla y esos carros ya están con batería eléctrica. Pero hoy vamos a hablar un poquito de hidrógeno y eso es que los nuevos autobuses de SunLine va a tener. En SunLine creemos en un modelo de propulso de uso mixto y eso significa que nuestra futura flauta será una de ZEB, que es autobuses sin emisiones. Y aquí tenemos una foto de nuestro autobús que es de hidrógeno y el ganador de este Student Art Contest agarró primero y es un estudiante en la escuela en Meca y cada año hacemos este contesta.
Thank you, Nicholas. Now, there are many ways to conduct hydrogen production. 3 ways to create it are electrolysis, gasification, and renewable liquids using sources such as ethanol. Now, today, when we are talking about how SunLine produces its hydrogen, we are going to be talking about electrolysis. Electrolysis is a process of using electricity to split water into hydrogen and oxygen. Very complicated, but we will make sure that this is explained in a simple and practical way for our riders and viewers.
¿Y cómo crear hidrógeno? 3 formas de crear. Uno es electrólisis, uno es de gasificación y el otro es de líquidos renovables. Y la producción de hidrógeno se presenta de muchas formas. Y aquí son 3 formas, pero sí hay otras formas, pero para hoy vamos a hablar de estas formas de cómo hacer hidrógeno.
Thank you. Now, we chose to make our hydrogen through electrolysis, and this is made possible by a brand new electrolyzer that came online in our Thousand Palms office in late 2019. Our electrolyzer allows us to grow our plan for not only fueling SunLine, but also a full range of transportation moving throughout the Coachella Valley. This will also be accomplished in the steps you see here. First, by building our solar farm. SunLine plans to construct a 2.4-acre solar farm to produce 4 megawatts. With abundant and self-sustaining clean energy, we can power our electrolyzer. Moving on, not only can we power our electrolyzer, but we can store power. This will allow us to move hydrogen even when the sun isn't shining. Storage is a huge priority when it comes to renewable energy, and this will make our hydrogen useful 24/7. Finally, we will incorporate public fueling. SunLine has plans to use additional clean energy to fuel public hydrogen vehicles in the Coachella Valley.
Y nosotros escogemos a la electrólisis. Llegamos a producir nuestro hidrógeno a través de electrólisis. Y esto es posible gracias a un electrolizador nuevo que se puso en funcionamiento más o menos el fin de 2000, empezando el 2020 o más o menos en el fin de 2019. Nosotros, el electrolizador nos permite hacer y crear nuestro plan para hacer hidrógeno cuando no hay sol con una granada solar. SunLine, sino también para una gama completa de transporte en el movimiento aquí en el Valle de Coachella. Esto se logra en los pasos que ve aquí. Aquí tenemos la grana solar y SunLine planea construir una grana de solar de 2.4 acres para producir electricidad. Y luego después de eso, el solar H2 no solo podemos alimentar nuestros electrolizadores, sino que también podemos almacenar energía. Cuando no hay sol, como los días de hoy, podemos mover y hacer energía también. Y el fin de eso nos va a permitir para hacer una estación para el público. SunLine tiene planes de utilizar la energía limpia para alimentar los vehículos aquí en el Valle de Coachella. No nomás a nosotros con nuestros autobuses, pero en el futuro todos los que tienen carros de hidrógeno.
All right. Now, if you're just tuning in, which many of you might be doing so, let's kind of reiterate a couple points and dive a little deeper into why we chose hydrogen fuel cell technology. There are many reasons, but these are four of the most exciting for us right now. The first is no waste. Hydrogen only generates water, electricity, and heat when converted to electricity. That means no greenhouse gases or dust particulate coming out of the tailpipe. The second is that it's fast. Fuel cell electric buses are compatible with fueling times and schedules that we're familiar with our vehicles that we use today. Efficiency is also an incredibly important piece. Fuel cell electric buses are a one-for-one replacement for conventional buses and are not tied to expensive en-route infrastructure that is often associated with certain types of electric battery buses in the field. And finally, resilience. Fuel cell electric buses excel in all weather. And as I was saying before, our summers get quite hot here in the Coachella Valley. So resilience is a key part of our strategy to keep our buses going all times in the year.
Y para la gente que está con nosotros, porque veo que hay unas nuevas gentes, estamos hablando ahora de nuestro hidrógeno aquí con SunLine y el futuro de hidrógeno y qué hace eso aquí en el Valle de Coachella, no nomás ahorita, pero para el futuro también. ¿Por qué H2 aquí en SunLine? Hay cuatro, y aquí están cuatro respuestas. ¿Por qué H2? La primera, sin desperdiciado, el H2 solo genera agua y electricidad y calor cuando se convierte a electricidad, sin gases de efecto. ¿Qué quiere decir eso? Cuando manejas el autobús, solamente genera agua, electricidad y el vapor del agua. No hay polvos o partículas para el aire. Algo muy bueno. Y también porque somos una agencia de tránsito, necesitamos estar con eficiencia. Los autobuses eléctricos de combustible son un reemplazado uno a uno de los autobuses convencionales y no están vinculados a una cuesta frecuencia en la ruta. Porque somos una agencia pública, necesitamos ver cómo cuestan las cosas y es muy importante que tenemos eficiencia y también rápido, porque nuestros autobuses siempre están en las calles de las 4 de la mañana hasta las casi 12 de la noche. Los autobuses necesitan estar rápido. Los autobuses eléctricos de combustible son compatibles con los tiempos y horarios de repostaje. Como los autobuses de gas natural, 10 a 12 minutos para llenarlos. Y el pin elástico. Los autobuses eléctricos de combustible están en todo tipo de clima, desde los inviernos fríos como hoy o hasta los veranos que están muy calientes. Y con los autobuses de solamente pila eléctrico, no están como los de hidrógeno aquí en el Valle de Coachella.
All right. Now, if you needed any more reasons of why to choose a hydrogen fuel cell bus to power a bus fleet, let's drive this point home. Now, we are going the distance with our hydrogen fuel cell bus fleet. We have a 350-mile daily range. Fuel cell electric buses excel on long routes with frequent stops. That is something we are all too familiar with here at SunLine Transit.
Alcanza diario 350 millas. Estos autobuses que escogemos de hidrógeno tienen muchas millas y eso es muy importante cuando tenemos un gran área como el Valle de Coachella, de Desert Hot Springs hasta Mecca. Es muy largo, necesitamos unos autobuses que agarran muchas millas los autobuses eléctricos de combustible se destacan en rutas largas y rutas con servicio frecuente. Y eso es como la ruta 1, porque para el autobús cada 2 o 3 cuadras. So, es muy importante el hidrógeno para los autobuses.
All right. Beyond breaking technological barriers, SunLine's helping to drive down the cost of hydrogen fuel cell technology for transportation in various sectors. For example, in 2000, the cost of a hydrogen fuel cell bus was approximately $2 million. In 2021, that cost is now $1,150,000. That is a substantial breakthrough that is definitely in part to our work here at SunLine Transit Agency.
Y estamos hablando de hidrógeno y los avances de tecnologías. Y una pregunta es, pues, ¿cuánto cuesta un autobús de hidrógeno? Pues en el año 2000 costaban más o menos 2 millones de dólares, pero SunLine está ayudando a reducir el costo de la tecnología de estos autobuses de hidrógeno para el transporte en varios sectores, no nomás en los sectores de tránsito, pero también para camiones en los viajes. Por ejemplo, aquí en el año 2000, 2 millones de dólares, pero ya un poquito más de 20 años, un poquito más de 1 millón de dólares cuestan estos autobuses y ojalá en otros 10 años es menos de 1 millón de dólares.
All right. Beyond just cost, by taking the plunge, we are being early adopters of hydrogen fuel cell technology. That means SunLine is pioneering innovations that will contribute to further cost breakdowns down the road. And just even beyond SunLine Transit's involvement, we are powering the economy. Beyond SunLine's own power needs, our future public station can not only be used to power individual cars, but also interstate trucks traveling along I-10. If you've ever seen SunLine's headquarters in Thousand Palms, you will know it is located right off the I-10, and that will be an amazing place for interstate trucking to fuel up future hydrogen trucks traveling between Los Angeles, Phoenix, or anywhere else along the 10.
And Reed, before I continue on to the Spanish section of this, Tom was asking, how does he know when he's riding a zero emissions bus versus a CNG bus or an electric bus?
Well, that's a great question. Thank you, Tom, for asking. So there are a couple ways. You might see with the wrap of our buses, the wrap just means what you see on the exterior. You might see hydrogen fuel cell bus at the top. Or Nicholas, I'm sorry, is it hydrogen fuel cell bus or hydrogen fuel cell technology?
Hydrogen fuel cell bus.
Bus, thank you.
On the top part near the roof line. And then also the bus numbers are indicated by FC and then the bus number.
Yeah, so those are the two ways to determine if your bus is a hydrogen fuel cell bus.
And then we have another question about, question is, do you all assist other agencies in helping to understand hydrogen technology? It's a great question. Yes, SunLine is actually one of the leaders in hydrogen technology, and we assist other transit agencies, and we've had other transit agencies come onto our property to learn about our hydrogen program and to see our hydrogen fleet. And Reed, if you want to add in something else to that.
Yeah, we are one of the earliest adopters, and in a couple of slides, we're going to be talking about our own history with hydrogen and how we got to this point. That is something we share on our campus and beyond by doing events like this and individual meetings with other transit agencies throughout the region.
Y para ustedes que están hablando en español, teníamos unas preguntas de cómo sabes si estoy en el autobús de hidrógeno. Y puedes saber eso porque el número del autobús tiene las letras F y C. So, si tienes el FC-19, ese es un autobús de hidrógeno. Pero, por ejemplo, si nomás tienes el autobús que dice 626, ese es un autobús de gas natural. Todavía ese autobús ayuda a limpiar el aire porque no pone muchas emisiones, pero los de hidrógeno ponen 0 emisiones al aire. Y vamos a empezar otra vez. Un poquito de tomando la inmigración. Al ser los primeros en adoptar de la tecnología de hidrógeno de combustible, SunLine es pionera en innovaciones que contribuyen a lograr avances en el costo del futuro. Y eso es muy importante porque con el costo es algo que es muy importante y aquí en SunLine vemos. Mucha gente nos pregunta cómo agarramos ese dinero y ese viene del gobierno o viene de otras del federal donde nos da dinero para estos programas. Y también va a ayudar la economía aquí en el Valle de Coachella o en el sur de California, porque SunLine, nuestra futura aquí de estación pública, también va a estar no nomás para carros de ustedes, pero para troques y camiones que están usando el Freeway 10 o la carretera 10.
Nicholas, my Spanish is in no way as good as yours, but I think I see a question, which is why I'm very happy to have you sharing with us. But I think I see a question regarding the completion of our fuel cell
Yes.
hydrogen.
Well, there's 2 points, Reed, I wanted to hit on.
Yeah.
We were talking about the cost of a sorry, a little tongue twisted there. Hydrogen fuel cell bus in 2000 as opposed to 2021, the cost did come down. One of the things I did mention in Spanish, I was mentioning about the grants and how we secured grant funding to fund a lot of these different programs, because I know that's we don't have that specific question in our chats, but I know that's one of the questions as we've talked about our hydrogen, how do we pay for all of these different elements? And the answer to that is different grants that we have acquired and secured over the past 20 some years, as well as acquiring hydrogen fuel cell buses from other transit agencies that may have been piloting the technology, and they may have gone a different way. So those are the different ways we've acquired some of our hydrogen fuel cell buses.
Yes.
And then I think you were asking about a question from Carmen, and she is asking about when we will be at zero emissions. Para la gente que está en español, cuando SunLine va a tener todos los vehículos con 0 emisiones. Y Carmen, vamos a agarrar esa respuesta en unos 2 o 3 aquí. So we'll answer Carmen's questions in 2 or 3 slides, because Carmen, we do have that answer for you.
Perfect. Thank you on all of that information, Nicholas. So you might be thinking hydrogen sounds like a great fuel source, especially for bus fleets, but how exactly does it work? There is a lot of science that goes into that answer, but in short, when our drivers fill the bus's hydrogen tanks, hydrogen and oxygen enter the fuel cell, which provides electricity to power the engine. The fuel cell operates a lot like a battery, and this keeps the fuel cell running for a prolonged amount of time, as we mentioned earlier, up to 350 miles on a single charge. And now the only byproduct is water. So there is nothing else coming out of the tailpipe other than water, evaporated water. You can see that in this illustration right here of the process, which goes hydrogen and oxygen in, heat up, water out.
And it's like you're back in chemistry class.
Oh, it is. I really enjoyed doing the chemistry refresher course on this one.
It's all fascinating science. Todo esto es muy interesante porque es como estamos en la escuela otra vez aprendiendo nuevas cosas. So, ¿cómo funcionan las pilas de combustible de hidrógeno? Hay mucha ciencia que investiga esto, pero en resumen el hidrógeno y el oxígeno ingresan a la celda de combustible que proporciona electricidad a las baterías que alimentan el motor. El único subproducto es el vapor de agua. So aquí tenemos una foto y aquí está el hidrógeno que se entra y aquí está la, ¿cómo se dice? Fuel cell, que es la batería, y el oxígeno que entra y que sale es la agua.
And Nicholas, one thing I didn't mention before when we were saying why hydrogen that I would just want to drive home is the fact that although it does use a fuel cell and it does use a battery, you might be asking, well, then why not just use the battery? And that 350-mile range is a big part of that. Not only can it run that 350 miles, but when it does need to charge, it can charge an incredibly efficient and fast time. If you're familiar with electric cars or you have one, you might notice it does take a while to refuel that battery with current technology. But with our hydrogen fuel cell buses, that is done in a time that is just about as fast as a conventional gas vehicle. So that is a huge asset for our hydrogen fuel cell buses. So how did we get here? Well, bold divisions take time, and this process began in 1992 when our board of directors at the time voted for a transition to a 100% alternative fuel fleet. To begin this process, we became early adopters of CNG technology. That's natural gas buses. At the time in 1992, there was no such thing as a fully operable hydrogen bus. So we started off our transition with natural gas technology.
Y las visiones a través toman mucho tiempo y, por ejemplo, comenzamos este proyecto en 1992 y ¿qué es hoy? 2021. Son muchos años. Y el camino de SunLine hacia las cero emisiones ha sido largo. Como dije, empezó en 1092 cuando la junta directiva votó a favor de una transición a flota de combustible 100% alternativo. Para comenzar este proceso, nos convertimos en los primeros en adoptar la tecnología de gas natural y ya de gas natural vamos a hidrógeno.
All right. Now, there's been a lot of things that have happened between now and 1992. So here's a little timeline of innovations and how we kind of forged that path from natural gas to hydrogen and where it will go after. So in 1994, SunLine is the first to transition to 100% CNG bus fleet. Many transit agencies across the country use CNG in their bus fleets today, and we were the first to transition to 100% CNG bus fleet. Then in 2000, with our first hydrogen fueling station powered by steam, SunLine emerged as a hydrogen pioneer. This was followed in 2004 when SunLine introduced the first hydrogen internal combustion engine, also known as HICE, hybrid bus, and it was a fuel blend. So that meant 20% hydrogen and 80% CNG. It was a big breakthrough, and it had a 220 to 250 mile range. So just here, you can see how we've been chipping away at those technological breakthroughs over time. This was followed in 2006 when SunLine becomes the first transit agency to own and operate hydrogen generation and a dispensing station. And something we're very excited about recently was in 2019, a new 900 kilogram per day hydrogen electrolyzer station opens in 1,000 Palms. And that is capable of supporting approximately 32 fuel cell electric buses. That might not sound like a lot, but trust me, it is. And that number is just growing. So that is a bit of a timeline of how we got to today.
Y la cronología de innovaciones aquí en SunLine. So, para el año 1994, el primero de hacer la transición a 100% gas natural en todos los autobuses. Y para el año 2000, la primera estación de abastecimiento de hidrógeno, y eso impulsaba por vapor. SunLine como pionero del hidrógeno en el año 2000. Para el año 2004, SunLine presenta el primer bus hidrógeno y también tenía hidrógeno y gas natural. Tenía 20% de hidrógeno y 80% de gas natural. Y ese alcanzaba de 220 a 250 millas. Y eso es muy importante aquí en el Valle de Coachella porque hay muchas millas de un lado a otro lado. Es muy importante eso. Y para 2006, primera agencia de tránsito en poseer y operar una estación de expansión y generación de H2. Y para el año 2019, abrimos una nueva estación de electrocidador de hidrógeno que tiene 900 kilos. Y esa estación está aquí en Mil Palmas, donde está la agencia de tránsito SunLine. Y con esa electrizador podemos llenar 32 autobuses de hidrógeno, pero ahorita nomás tenemos 16. Ojalá en el futuro vamos a usarlo más.
Perfect. As I stated before, that is how we got to here. Now, where do we go next? And more importantly, how do we get there?
¿A dónde vamos luego y cómo vamos a llegar ahí? Y ahorita vamos a agarrar a su pregunta a Carmen. So I think here's where Carmen's question might get answered.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So our growing zero emission bus fleet. This is by fuel source looking from today till 2040. So as our infrastructure grows, our fleet changes shape. We're currently phasing out CNG buses and increasing our new purchases of zero emission buses. Each bus has a lifespan of around a decade. While we are making that transition, we also want to get the most life and use out of the materials we have today. So here in gray, you will see our CNG fleet. You'll see that we are phasing those out. In light green, you will see battery electric buses, because at SunLine, we believe in a mixed propulsion fleet. There are numerous sources that will charge our future. And what we are most excited about is in dark green. Those are our fuel cell electric buses. You can see those take over a very substantial portion of our overall fleet quite soon.
¿Con qué funciona nuestra flauta hoy? Hoy tenemos muchos autobuses de gas natural y está aquí en el gris. La área gris son los números de autobuses de gas natural. Y aquí tenemos en este verde son los autobuses de pila eléctrico. Y aquí en este más oscuro verde son los números de autobuses de, ¿cómo se dice?, hidrógeno. A medida que crece nuestra infraestructura, nuestra flota cambia de forma. Actualmente estamos eliminando los autobuses de gas natural o GNC y aumentado nuestras nuevas compras de los autobuses de hidrógeno o pila eléctricos.
Perfect. This process will be made possible under state guidance through the CARB ICT regulations. Now, we just passed a milestone where on January 1st, 2020, 100% ICT buses have to be low pollutant. So heading toward zero emission buses. On January 1st, 2026, 25% of new bus purchases are going to be zero emission buses. On January 1st, 2029, 100% of new purchases are to be zero emission buses. And by January 1st, 2040, 100% of transit agencies' bus fleet is to be zero emission buses.
So aquí tenemos la orientación del estado que nos dio de reglamento. Y si ves 1, 2, 3 y 4, usted puede pensar, pues SunLine ya está ahí. Porque, mira, el 1 de enero de 2020, los autobuses 100% tienen que ser poco contaminantes, pero SunLine ya hizo eso en 1994. Y mira el segundo, el 1 de enero de 2026, el 25% de nuevas compras son autobuses de cero emisiones, pero SunLine ya está allí en este día hoy. Y el tercero es el 1 de enero de 2029, el 100% de nuevas compras son autobuses de cero emisiones. Y para el 1 de enero de 2040, 100% de la flota necesita estar con cero emisiones, pero SunLine va a estar allí en 2035. So, Carmen, si todavía estás con nosotros, ahí está su respuesta a 2035 para SunLine.
All right. Now, while those state regulations are a pivotal tool in getting us to where we need to go, we here at SunLine are too eager to wait till 2040. So we say, why wait? In June 2020, SunLine's zero emission rollout plan set our own target for our fixed route fleet. Carmen, thank you for bearing with us. Here's the answer to your question if you haven't heard it yet. 100% zero emission buses by 2035. This will be using that mixed fuel propulsion fleet, like I was mentioning before. So 67 fuel cell electric buses and 18 battery electric buses. And this will extend all the way to our paratransit fleet. It will also be 100% zero emission buses by 2032. And that will consist of 39 fuel cell electric buses.
Well, Reed, I kind of gave it away when I got so excited when I was speaking in Spanish. You probably didn't catch that. And I actually gave Carmen the answer beforehand.
You know, I thought I did, but I wasn't sure with my listening skills, so.
All right. ¿Por qué esperar hasta cuando el Estado nos dice? Pues aquí en SunLine, ya para el año 2035 vamos a estar allí con cero emisiones. El plan de implementación de cero emisiones de SunLine estableció nuestro propio objetivo. So, 100% en nuestros autobuses de SunBus para 2035 y ese va a tener 67 autobuses eléctricos de combustible, so hidrógeno, y 18 autobuses eléctricos de batería. Ahorita tenemos 4 de esos. Y también si usan el servicio de Sundial para tránsito, esos autobuses para 2035 y vamos a tener 39 autobuses eléctricos de combustible o hidrógeno.
Okay, well, Nicholas, that was a lot of info, and I'm very thankful for having people tune in to learn more about not only what hydrogen is, why we use it, and how we got where we're going, and finally, where we are going from here. If you're just tuning in, or maybe you tuned in halfway, our friends at New Flyer made a great video that summarizes a lot of the aspects of what we were talking about, particularly regarding just how hydrogen fuel cell buses work. So Nicholas, if you could play this video.
Sure. Y este video no lo hicimos aquí en SunLine, pero la compañía New Flyer que hace los autobuses de hidrógeno hizo este video. Vamos a pedir si pueden hacer uno en español. Ahorita nomás lo tenemos en inglés.
What if we could use the most abundant element in the universe as a fuel source? And what if, instead of emitting greenhouse gases, transit buses produced clean water vapor? This isn't a far-off promise or a research project in progress. It's hydrogen fuel cell technology. In 1993, New Flyer and its technology partners unveiled the world's first hydrogen fuel cell electric bus. And we've been pioneering the technology ever since. It's safe, reliable, and it's making public transportation cleaner. Right now, hydrogen fuel cell electric buses, like our Excelsior Charge H2, are in motion across North America, and they're complementing existing fleets of battery electric buses. But why invest in hydrogen? What makes a hydrogen fuel cell electric bus different from a battery electric bus? To answer that, let's take a closer look at how it all fits together. A hydrogen fuel cell takes compressed hydrogen from the fuel tank and combines it with oxygen from the air. This process produces electricity, heat, and H2O, which leaves the tailpipe in the form of clean water vapor. The fuel cell functions as an onboard charger, providing power to charge the batteries while the bus is in motion. This eliminates the need to recharge the batteries at the depot or garage, and it extends the range of the bus up to 350 miles before needing to refuel. And refueling hydrogen is a breeze. It takes as little as 12 minutes to refill a 60-foot fuel cell bus, and only half that time for a 40-foot bus. Hydrogen is also incredibly clean and can help you further reduce your carbon footprint. Just one bus can save hundreds of tons of greenhouse gases every year. That's like taking up to 29 cars off the road, or planting up to 5,600 trees. It's time to take advantage of this zero-emission solution. Discover how New Flyer can help you achieve a more efficient future with the Excelsior Charge H2. Visit the Vehicle Innovation Center or go to newflyer.com/VIC to learn more.
Well, Nicholas, I couldn't have said it better myself. That was a perfect summary of where we are. Now, before we finish, we just want to leave you off with some information and a quote to show you how long this dream has taken to become a reality. Jules Verne, also often known as the father of science fiction. You might know him from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea or Around the World in 80 Days, said in the late 19th century, "I believe that water will one day be employed as fuel, that hydrogen and oxygen, which constitute it, used singularly or together, will furnish an inexhaustible source of heat and light, of an intensity of which coal is not capable." Now, we here at SunLine are proud of a lot of things, but making this 200-year-old dream a reality is certainly at the forefront of that list.
Y ya me lo vamos a acabar. So, si tienen preguntas, ponlo en el chat antes que acabamos. Pero para estar inspirado, creo que algún día se empleará el agua como combustible, que el hidrógeno y el oxígeno que la construyen, usados solos juntos, proporcionar una fuente inagotable de calor y luz de una intensidad de la que el carbón no es capaz. Y ese es Jules Verne, que es el padre de hidrógeno. Y mira, en el 828 hasta 1905. So, mira, el hidrógeno, estamos aquí en el año 2021. So, puedes ver que es muchos años.
All right. Now, we covered a lot today. We covered what hydrogen is, why we choose it, the innovative and cost-effective ways that SunLine Transit acquires its bus fleet, how we got here, where we're going, and a little bit more in between. So we would totally understand if you have questions and want to learn more. If you tuned in halfway, please go back and watch the full hydrogen story here at SunLine. You can also reach us at any point for questions at sunline.org. You can call us at 760-343-3451 or email us at marketing@sunline.org. We are always happy and excited to talk about our growing hydrogen fuel cell program.
Y hablamos de muchas cosas ahora, cómo se hace hidrógeno, la historia de SunLine con hidrógeno, también de autobuses eléctricos y cómo vamos a cambiar, no nomás aquí los autobuses, pero también los camiones o los carros que tienen hidrógeno. So, si tienen más preguntas, ponerse en contacto con nosotros. Tenemos nuestro sitio de web, teléfono, o nos puedes mandar correo electrónico, o también nos puedes hacer un chat en nuestro sitio de web si tienen más preguntas de hidrógeno.
Perfect. Nicholas, thank you so much for sharing our info in Spanish. And we hope that you enjoyed learning about hydrogen fuel cell technology. Nicholas, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat right now. But thank you before to Tom and Brittany, Carmen, and anyone else who asked questions, and especially those who tuned in. It is a very exciting topic, and we are happy to share it with you right now and in the future. Nicholas,
and
are you
just to reemphasize Transit Tuesday, Reed, we now meet. Transit Tuesday is the second and fourth Tuesday of every month. And then on the first and third Tuesdays, tune into our Instagram at SunLine Transit. And that's where we have a little more of a informative discussion about any kinds of questions people might have about bus passes, about hydrogen, about buses in general, or about SunLine. Para ustedes que están con nosotros ahorita, el segundo y el 4 martes de cada mes es Tránsito Martes y está aquí en Facebook en vivo. Y el primero y el tercero martes de cada mes estamos en Instagram en vivo. So allí también puedes hacer preguntas. Ese es más como hablar con un café. No hay una presentación, nomás las preguntas que usted tiene. And I see we have one more question coming in from Robert Klein. When do you think there will be a personal vehicle using hydrogen vehicle? Am I reading that?
When do you think there will be a personal vehicle using hydrogen fuel? I believe there are already cars in the private sector that are doing that.
Yes,
but
there's the Toyota has one. Honda has a Clarity, and there's another third auto manufacturer, Robert. I can't. It's not coming to the top of my head. Honda and Toyota definitely have their hydrogen vehicles, and there's a third one, but I am drawing a blank. But if you shoot us some, we can shoot you a message with that information.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and hopefully one day, quite soon, they will be able to use hydrogen fueling stations to power their vehicles. Thank you for that question. It is definitely interesting to see how both buses, private vehicles, and interstate trucks are all using hydrogen as a source. All right. I think that was the last question I see right now.
I think so too. La pregunta era de carros de hidrógeno, Honda, el Toyota, y hay otro manufacturero de carros que también tienen carro de hidrógeno para las personas. Y con eso vamos a acabar hoy. Gracias por estar con nosotros en este Tránsito Martes y hasta el 23 de febrero. Gracias.
Thank you.